What happens to your CDs in high yield savings account as the Fed continue to cut interest rates going into 2025? So when I first opened my high yield savings account in 2016, the interest rates were about 0.9%. Every time the Fed cuts the funds rates by 0.25 to 0.5%, it's going to lead to a decrease in rates for the high yield savings account and CDs. And those are going to be pretty much right away. And before you move your cash out of your savings account, you still need to consider having some liquidity. So where is the best place to put your money when interest rates continue to come down? And the bank could preemptively cut rates before the Federal Reserve cuts the funds rates, okay? And let's say you have a high yield savings account and that's paying you 4.5% in interest, and the Fed cuts rates by 0.25%, then the bank could cut by 0.25 or sometimes up to 0.35%. And it really depends on the bank. The bank could just match with what the Fed is doing to go from 4.5 to maybe 4.25%. If they cut rates by 0.5%, then it could go down to 4% or maybe 4.1%. Just remember that these banks are also competing to retain or attract more clients. So they're going to try and compete and have a higher rate to keep you around or attract more clients. So if you have a short-term goal with your cash within the next 12 months, then a high yield savings account is always a great option. You have much more flexibility and liquidity with a HYSA over the CDs because once you put money in the CD, it gets locked in for a rate for a period of time. Now, the rate cuts will also affect the CDs, right? But if you already have money in the CD right now, you're not going to see the rate change until the term is up. So if you locked into a 12-month CD for, let's say, 4.5% before the rate cuts, you're going to lock into that rate for 12 months, even if the Fed cuts interest rates anytime during the 12-month period. The most common mistake I have seen people do with CDs is that they don't have a clear goal of why they're putting their cash into their CDs. The purpose of a CD is to give your cash a chance to beat inflation with stability and predictability in their earnings. If you put your entire cash savings in a CD, then you're locking away your entire liquidity in the CD. And that's not the right way to do it, no matter what the interest rates are. So why would people hold so much cash in a high yield savings account or CDs? For me, I will always have 1 month of expenses in my checking account and 5 months of expenses in my high yield savings account as an emergency fund. So I do not want this money invested because I'm going to end up needing it one day for anything unexpected, right? And again, I'll always put 5 months of my bare minimum expenses in my emergency fund with a high yield savings account. And if you're someone who needs more than 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund because you're retired, then you probably want to look at putting some of that into a CD to get a better rate of return. Remember, CDs give you the highest guarantee returns for a bank account, and CDs had some of the highest interest rates in 2023 and 2024. And I also have 3 other HYSAs. My annual expenses fund is in a high yield savings account because I use the cash within 12 months to pay for anything necessary and expected. And I use the savings account to pay for my vehicle maintenance, DMV registration fee, car insurance, and annual credit card fees. And my discretionary fund is also in a separate HYSA because I use the cash in my discretionary fund within 12 months to pay for entertainment, birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, and other holidays. And I also have a travel fund because I use that within 12 to 18 months. And if I put any of this money in a CD, it won't make sense, right? Because then they're all going to be tied up for, let's say, 6 months, 12 months. I'm probably going to need it within a month, maybe 6 months or less than 12 months. But when it comes to purchasing let's say a vehicle, saving for a down payment on the next home, or anything else that requires a sizable cash outlay, I'm going to consider a CD to preserve my capital while guaranteeing my earnings with interest payments from the CD. Especially when the rates are coming down, the CDs tend to have a higher rate. For example, and this is just an example, let's say $50,000 I want to preserve. okay, then grow interest in. So I'm going to leave it out of the stock market and put it in a CD to keep the capital safe. So the purpose of that $50,000 is to pay for a down payment of my next property. Just an example here, all right? So as the rates come down over the next 12 to 18 months, I am interested in the 12-month CD or an 18-month CD, which is known as a mini CD ladder. So what I can do is just split my $50,000 into 4 CDs like this. So CD1, so that's what, 12, 5, and then just split it into 2, 3, and then 4, like that, right? So $12,500 each. So what I can do is I can do this for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and maybe let's say 18 months. So this is also known as the mini CD ladder. So that's going to be $12,500 each for each CD. So when each CD matures, I can reinvest the interest in a new CD. Now, you don't have to do all 6, 9, 12, and 18 months. Those are just an example. Maybe I'm going to get a better rate with just the 12 and 18 months, so I can split the money between those 2 CDs. Or I can open 4 CDs with 12 and 18 months and just create an overlap between these CDs. And it's entirely up to you because it depends on your goal. By the way, I am so fired up to announce the launch of my private FIRE community for people just like you and me who are passionate about investing, saving, and achieving financial independence and exploring different possibilities to retire early. My private community will allow you to connect with me on the platform and get in touch with other like-minded individuals or couples who are just as serious as you are with the FIRE movement. As a member of my private community, you'll get resources like investing, saving, paying off debt, or finding the right place to grow your money. And the other one that you should know, it is also called a Barbell CD. Can I draw a barbell? Terrible drawing. Sorry about that. But anyway, man, this is really terrible. So this is going to be all the short term, okay? And this is going to be the long term. Don't judge my drawing. I am obviously a numbers guy, so this is, I didn't fail art class, but it was not my favorite subject there. But anyway, so you have one side of the barbell for short-term CDs and the other side of the barbell for long-term CDs. And the benefit of doing the barbell strategy is that you don't have all of your money locked up in a long-term CD. The potential downside of this strategy is that you're going to have to do more work to keep track of every maturity date for your CD. And you can schedule a consultation by visiting firestation.com/consultation, or you can join my community at firestation.com/community there. But anyway, what you want to look at is short-term CDs and then long-term CDs, and how much money you want to put into the short term versus the long term. And you want to look at what's called the average rates, right? So if this is paying like, let's say 4.5, and this is just an example, 5%. So the average rate is about 4.75%. But what you want to make sure is that how much of your money is going to be tied up in the long-term CD, because remember, if you take out early, then you're going to end up paying the penalty on it. And this is something that's probably you can access right away. So that's going to be the short term at 4.5% and take out the money right away. But the other strategy that is going to be very common to know, it's called a bullet CD. Okay, so it's called a bullet CD ladder. So if you're looking to make a big purchase in the future years, for example, you could open a 5-year CD now, a 4-year CD in a year, and then the 3-year CD in 2 years. So you can do 5 years, 4 years, and in 3 years, like that, right? So all of those CDs will mature at the same time with different rates because you're going to open one up every year. But you're not going to have to come up with all $50,000 or whatever the cash you're aiming to save. But this strategy will give you some time to save more money to commit to additional CDs. So does this mean that you should move all of your cash into the stock market? Not necessarily. You still need to have liquidity set aside. You should never become cash poor. I always have cash to deploy into the stock market, and I never put all 100% of my cash assets into stocks. But if you're looking to get a higher return without putting money into stocks, then you can always take a look at a bond or bond fund. If you buy bonds toward the end of a period when rates are rising, then you can lock in high coupon yields and watch the market value of your bond increase once rates start to come down. And that could be a win-win for you. If you're not a fan of bonds, then the other option is to use the CD ladder like I've been talking about. But again, you need to write down what you're using the money for. If you tell me that you're just looking to save $10,000 in a CD just because you like the interest rate, is not a clear goal. Here's a better statement. I'm looking to renovate my home in 2 years, and I'm looking to spend $50,000 for the entire project. I want to preserve my capital and earn guaranteed interest on it. Now you have a clear, concise goal that is achievable, measurable, and realistic, right? As interest rates continue to come down, every time the CD matures, the next CD will have a lower rate than the one you had previously. You're going to end up reinvesting the money from a mature CD into much lower rates depending on the term. So just remember that unless you have a specific reason to maintain that cash asset away from your stock investments to safeguard your capital, you could be missing out on a higher return in something like a broad market index fund. If you're also not being careful with planning and end up putting too much in long-term CDs, you could be hit with a penalty fee by taking money out of a CD way before the maturity date. You need to have a plan and balance between CDs and high yield savings accounts. And I have a purpose for every single savings account I own. And if you don't, then it's time for you to start writing things down.